Hi everybody, this is Will Bowen with today's JumpStart. I just finished reading Walter Isaacson's awesome book on Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs was an interesting person, and if you think about it, he revolutionized so many different industries, from the personal computer industry to the cell phone industry to the way music is distributed, to animation. It just goes on and on and on, the number of contributions that Steve Jobs made. It has also been said that he was an irascible SOB to deal with. So we'll set all that aside. What I want to talk about today is Steve Jobs' capacity for taking setbacks and using them as things that just catapulted him forward. And let me give you a specific example. When Steve Jobs came back to Apple after John Sculley and the board fired him, he came back from Next Computers that he started, and he wanted to do the brand new Macintosh, and it was very exciting, and he worked so hard on this. And at that time, CD-ROM drives were everything. People were ripping their own music. They were and ripping off the music companies big time, because they were recording recordable copies of CDs and giving them to one another. In addition to that, there was a huge peer-to-peer sharing experience back then with Napster and LimeWire, and people recording, uploading recordings or copying them to the computers and just sharing them with other people. So this was a really big deal. Now, here's the interesting thing. When Steve Jobs created the new Macintosh, he wanted it sleek. It had to be sleek. Of course, sleek. Everything to him was sleek. And it's true, man. His stuff is sleek, you know? So he wanted it sleek. And one of the things that he wanted was he didn't want a CD tray. If you're old enough to remember them, CDs used to go like this and pop out, and then you'd put the CD in, and then it would go in, and you would record the CD. People were burning CDs and DVDs and DVRs, etc. back then. So now, when he insisted that they put he did not want a CD tray. Steve Jobs wanted a slot that you just simply push the CD in, which is what you see a lot these days. Now, unfortunately, he had to make it a recordable drive. He put in the slot, but recordable drives only came in the tray version. So he came out with this Mac that was supposed to be state-of-the-art, and then just within a couple of months, everybody was recording and burning their own CDs and DVDs, and they needed the tray version, and the Macs were worthless for one of the main things computers were used for. So what did Steve Jobs do? Well, first of all, of course, he put CD trays into the next generations of those Macs, but he also thought, how can I jump beyond this? If this is the next level of technology, ripping and burning your own CDs and DVDs, what is the next level of beyond that? What is the next level? If I couldn't do this, what would I do? And that's where his genius came through. He said, if we couldn't create a system whereby we could allow people using our products to rip their own songs and burn their own DVDs, we would create a way for them using their iPods to directly download the music. And that was the birth of it all. That was the birth of it all. iTunes Store did $1 billion in its first 3 months. And it all came down to Steve Jobs betting on the fact that people would be willing to pay for music, even though it was free, but to pay for a really good copy of a song and to have it any time they wanted it. Steve Jobs did not solve problems. Steve Jobs jumped over the solution that other people found. That was one of the things that made him a true genius. If he ran into a problem, like putting the wrong CD drives into computers, he fixed it. And then he said, now, what could I have done to take it even further? And that's where the whole iTunes Store came from, the idea of downloading and paying for music and movies and books. All came right there because Steve Jobs was such a jerk about CD drive trays. Listen, look at your life today. Find out what you've been so doggedly attached to and then think, what if this wasn't even a possibility? What if I had to leap over this? What would be the next thing I'd do? You'll be surprised what you'll find. And leave me a comment below. I'd love to hear what you come up with. Enjoy today, and we'll talk tomorrow. Bye-bye.